I have often mentioned in many of my videos and writings that separation is the bane of our existence. All the suffering happens because of separation, but one needs to understand what separation really is. Separation is not evil, separation is there by design. And the structure that facilitates separation is me. Now, me is the foundational structure which supports every other structure that exists in the psyche. Without me, there cannot be any internal structure. And without internal structures, it's not possible to navigate life. For example, if you need to make decisions in life, decisions regarding, let's say, your diet, the way you operate in life, the way you show up, the way you interact with others, what type of responses are needed in a particular situation. All of these, all of these things, all of these responses are facilitated by those internal structures, which are supported by the me. So, by design, the me is not a flaw. Me is there, and it has a purpose, and it is by nature separation. But what needs to be understood is that the source and the substance of that separation is the source, is the pure awareness. Without awareness, those structures cannot sustain, cannot stand. So all perception is made possible by the awareness. Now what happens is, this structure me, when it begins to expand horizontally in time as me, mine, this is what I must do, this is what I must acquire, this is what I must be. I, which expands horizontally in time, I or me, one and the same thing here. This is when the trouble begins. So one experiences pain and suffering. So me comes up with a clever idea. It says, why not annihilate this sense of separation? So we are told that ego is the problem. The me ego, which is the thinking mind, is the problem, and we must dissolve it completely to be free. But you see, this is the ploy of the me mind only. So me mind is not going to contribute or plan its own demise. This is just a thought, another thought, which is a part of the internal structure. So when this me identification is strong, the sense of separation is strong. And when the sense of separation is strong, one experiences pain in life because one gets completely divorced from reality. Life as it's happening, the world as it is. But one gets completely into an imaginative space where one thinks how life should and should not be. So that me, which is expanding horizontally in time as things should be this way, that way, life should be this way, that way, I can do practices, I can do this, I can do that, to become better, to become whole, to do this, to do that. That is the me mind, which is problem. The one which is flowing horizontally in time and trying to become, unbecome, acquire, attain. Once the nature of this separation is understood, even if the separation remains in physical realm and psychological realm, it's no more a problem. For example, in physical appearances, there will always be separation. I'm sitting on this chair because of separation. I'm talking to you because of this separation. We can exchange ideas because of this separation, because your mind has ideas, my mind has ideas, and we can talk together and exchange ideas. If I knew your mind and if you knew my mind, if there was no separation, there would be no need for any communication. There would be no need for any discussion. There would be no need for any teaching. Everybody would know everything. And life, as we know, would never happen. So, when those idealistic teachings say that we must annihilate the ego or annihilate this me, which is the root of all problem, we are again making it an object of our fantasy. And this time, our fantasy is to destroy the ego, destroy the me, the thinking mind. It is not to be destroyed, it is to be understood. Once its nature is understood, once it is understood where does it arise from, it's no more a problem. Now, it does contribute to pain and suffering and reactivity at times, but those things happen in the moment. When the me comes to a stable state where it simply operates for daily functioning, it doesn't get too involved with what is happening externally. It doesn't get too tightly identified with certain ideas. That is when true joy of life happens. That is when we have the capacity to explore different ideas, different concepts, different point of views. But if we are fixated only on our point of view, and this can happen even to people who follow non-duality, and they can say that my reality is the only reality, and this is the way it is, and this is the way it should be. But you see, we are getting stuck. We're not investigating. So when it is this me's lived experience which has brought peace, then there is no need to explain, there is no need to justify. One simply lives. But when it is not a lived experience and thoughts and ideas are acquired externally, which contributes to this separation, me identified with ideas, ideology, then it justifies, then it defends, then it over explains. And that is when the suffering propagates in horizontal time as thinking, because we try to convince ourselves more than we try to convince others. Otherwise, there is no need for a debate or a discussion or a need to be proved a certain point of view to be as right or wrong. So, the nature, coming back to the topic, the nature of separation is to be understood. The separation is not to be eliminated. We cannot eliminate separation till we are in this realm. This separation has been given to us for interhuman interaction, and this was one of the core teachings of Ramesh Balsekar, which was very striking for me. He said, even Ramana Maharishi, when he was addressed, when somebody called him, turned and responded. Without me, that is not possible. But for him, that is where it ends. Any story around me, Bhagwan does not carry that. So Bhagwan lives in the eternal self. He is the self. But the me is there to impart the teaching, to facilitate the operations of the ashram or whatever was needed during that time. Separation is not evil, because universe does not operate with that agenda to present something evil, to distort. Things just happen, they're happening. According to what law, we cannot decipher that. But this pseudo entity, which is real but also unreal at the same time because it is not our continuous experience. The me shows up intermittently when we are lost, let's say, not lost, but when we are doing something, you know, in an automatic mode, like for example, brushing, driving, there is not this me, but simply the mind body organism operating according to what has been programmed. But as soon as, let's say, somebody tries to cut us on the road or says something which hurts us, the me immediately arises to defend, to respond. So me is there by design. Now, the me can respond or react also in a given moment, anything, anger, whatever comes up naturally, spontaneously. But that is where the me ends once this message is understood, because after that, there is nothing to be carried forward as shame, blame, guilt, malice towards the other, because it is understood that there is no other and neither there is a me. But it is this awareness, this is facilitating this duality of me and the other, this separation of me and the other for the purpose of interhuman or interpersonal communication, so that life as we know can happen. So that is the idea. That is the concept, I would say. So why is this concept important? This is the main point. This concept is important because it frees the me from the doership of eliminating itself, of killing itself. It is not the me's burden to annihilate itself. Once the understanding happens, the me is restored to the functional aspects, taking care of the body, taking care of the mind, living a healthy life, conscious life. All those things are the part of this daily functioning, healthy functioning of the me. But nothing expands in horizontal time as thinking. I must be this, I must be that, I must do this, I must do that. So, this message does not teach us to destroy the ego or to portray ego as the problem or the separation as the problem to be solved. It is only pointing to separation so that through that separation, the wholeness, the realization of wholeness, the recognition of wholeness may happen. Because ultimately, as I said earlier, what illuminates this separation is the pure light of awareness, without which no perception is possible, without which no experiencing is possible. So one can always bring attention to here and now, into the spacious awareness where everything is lighting up, including the me and the other, and see it all as one cohesive whole.